Most people believe trends spread because they're exciting, but psychology tells a darker story. Trends don't move through society, they move through insecurity. The human brain is wired to scan for social safety. From a young age, we learn a dangerous equation: belonging equals survival, standing out equals risk. So when a trend appears, the brain doesn't ask, "Do I like this?" It asks, "Will I be safe if I ignore it?" People who never join trends have a brain that asks a different question. Instead of scanning the crowd, they scan themselves. Their internal compass is louder than social noise, and that changes everything. These individuals often learned early that approval was unreliable. Praise came and went, rules changed, expectations shifted, so their mind adapted by turning inward. They stopped trusting external validation and started trusting internal consistency. That's why trends don't hook them. A trend offers temporary belonging, but their psychology values stability over acceptance. To them, trends feel chaotic, emotionally unstable, like a moving target that demands constant adjustment, and their nervous system rejects that. This isn't rebellion, it's self-protection. And the strange part is, they rarely know they're doing it. It feels natural, automatic, almost invisible. But beneath that calm surface, something much deeper is forming. Inside people who never follow trends, there's an invisible psychological shield most others never develop. It's built from one powerful trait: emotional self-containment. These people learned how to sit with their own thoughts without needing external confirmation. Silence doesn't scare them. Being misunderstood doesn't rush them into explanation. When the crowd moves, they pause, not because they're slow, but because their brain doesn't outsource decisions. Psychologically, this creates a buffer between impulse and action. Where most people feel an itch to copy, they feel a moment of distance. Enough space to ask, does this actually align with me? That pause is everything. It's why they don't chase viral ideas, why sudden hype feels hollow, why trends look less like opportunities and more like emotional noise. But here's the hidden part no one talks about. This armor wasn't built for confidence. It was built to avoid emotional whiplash. Following trends means constantly adjusting identity. New likes, new language, new values. For these minds, that feels exhausting, almost invasive. So they choose consistency over connection. And while the world sees independence, what's really happening is control. Control over self-image, control over emotional stability, control over who gets access to their attention. But that same armor that protects them also sets the stage for something unexpected. Here's the twist most people get wrong. They assume trend-resistant people are strong because they don't need others, but psychologically, the truth cuts deeper. Many of them don't avoid trends because they feel superior. They avoid them because they've already experienced what it feels like to lose themselves. At some point, fitting in came with a cost. Maybe their opinions were ignored. Maybe their identity was reshaped to please others. Maybe they learned that belonging required shrinking, and their mind recorded that lesson permanently. So now, when a trend appears, it doesn't look fun, it looks dangerous. Not socially dangerous, psychologically dangerous. Following a trend feels like surrendering control again, like handing your sense of self back to the crowd, and their brain refuses. This creates a strange paradox. They appear unshakable, but they're deeply protective. They value autonomy more than connection, not because connection is weak, but because losing autonomy once hurt too much. So they choose distance, silence, selective engagement. And here's what changes everything. They're not avoiding trends to be different. They're avoiding the version of themselves they became when they tried to belong. And that realization quietly shapes every choice they make from that point on. But this choice comes with a price few people acknowledge. When you never join trends, you don't just avoid the noise, you also miss the warmth. Trends are shallow, yes, but they're also social bridges. Shared jokes, shared moments, a feeling of being inside something together. And when you consistently stand outside, the world slowly stops inviting you in. People who resist trends often become observers of life instead of participants. They watch conversations move without them. They notice references they don't share. They feel slightly out of sync, even with people they care about. And they rarely complain. Because admitting loneliness would contradict the identity they've built, the independent one, the self-contained one, the one who doesn't need external validation. So the cost stays unspoken. Psychologically, this creates quiet isolation, not dramatic, not painful enough to confront, just enough to feel like a low hum in the background of their lives. They're respected but not always understood, admired but not always included. And over time, something subtle happens. They begin to confuse emotional distance with emotional depth. They tell themselves they're above trends, above group thinking, above surface-level connection. But part of that belief is protection. Because admitting the cost would mean questioning the armor that kept them safe for so long. And that question is far more uncomfortable than missing out on a trend. And here, the realization that lingers long after the video ends. People who never join trends aren't free from influence, they've just chosen a quieter one. Instead of being shaped by the crowd, they're shaped by the past, by moments where blending in felt like erasing themselves, by experiences that taught them control feels safer than connection. So they stand apart, calm, self-directed, untouched by hype. But beneath that stillness is a question they rarely ask out loud. What if belonging doesn't always mean losing yourself? What if some trends aren't traps, but invitations? The haunting truth is this. Avoiding every trend doesn't make you immune to pressure. It just means the pressure comes from within, from the need to protect identity, from the fear of becoming someone you don't recognize again. And the most unsettling part. The same people who never follow the crowd often wonder, late at night, whether they're choosing authenticity or just hiding in it. That thought doesn't demand an answer. It just stays. Quiet. Waiting.